Greetings, everyone, from Life More Abundant. We're all recovering from something. Certainly appreciate you being here this week. This is episode 16. And so far, in the previous episodes, as I've mentioned before, we've covered the overall view of our Trinitarian, Christ-centered uh, approach to recovery. And we've talked about the LMA 12 steps, the LMA 9 victims versus victor statements, the LMA 7 principles. We've talked about the perichoresis statement. We've talked about the long version and other versions of the serenity prayer. And we've also covered a, a discussion on Christ is all and in all. This week, I'm going to take another little topic. If you're having issues, then you need some type of help. You need recovery. If it's substance abuse, if it's, I say, it can be anything. It can be recovering from abusive relationships, wrapped up in all kind of misbehavior, uh, controlling, legalistic religions. Some of us have overcome and are struggling to come out of, and we need help, and we see that we need help, and we see that we're doing things that don't match up with what we really feel right in here, because that's where Christ is. And there's a Hebrew word called HINENI, pronounced, I looked it up, it's, some people say HINENI, but it's HINENI. Leonard Cohen, the Canadian singer, he's got a song, he calls it Do You Want It Darker, uses that term. I would suggest you check it out sometime. It's Leonard Cohen, and it's Do You Want It Darker? And I think it's the name of the song. But check it out. But it was we figure out these things and these issues that we think we have problems with that we want to overcome. It can be all kind of stuff. It can be just being lonely and sad. But are we ready? We say we want this. It's like, I use the example sometimes. We all know, I know there's people that smoke cigarettes and all that, and everybody knows that cigarette smoking is harmful to you. I'm a former smoker. I've known many people, and I could ask a room full of people that's mixed, that could be, and I do deal with sometimes people, a lot of people that still smoke. And I will say, do you think you need to stop smoking? Every hand I go up. Every smoker raises his hand. I know I need to. Then I say, but Anna, honest, give me an honest answer. Do you want to stop smoking? The hands thin out because that's the deal. There's a lot of things we feel like we need to do, but we got to come to where we want to do it. And in this Hebrew term here, I'm going to talk about, are we ready? And Nini literally means, here I am. More than just I'm right here, but here I am. I'm ready. Uh, just so you know, and you say, what are we talking about this for? Because if we want to overcome our shortcomings, we want to overcome our addictions, we want to overcome whatever it is that we feel like's holding us down, we got to come to the point and decide, are we ready? Because if you're not ready, one thing, sometimes we're not ready till we've suffered enough. But are we ready? Hineni is a Hebrew word that means here I am. It is made up with the words Hine, which means here, and Ini, which means I. It's used in many situations, such as responding to God. Abraham and Moses both says Hineni when God called on them. Abraham was called to pack up and leave and, leave his country and his friends and go. And he did. And Moses was confronted at the quote burning bush and was instructed to go back and lead God's people out of captivity in Egypt, and he did. Expressing readiness, Hanini can be used to indicate that someone is ready to obey instructions, pay attention, or submit to a request. Announcing something HINENI can be used to announce an important announcement or covenant. It's used at, I think, the Yom Kippur, one of the Jewish holidays, holy days. They use this HINENI prayer. It also means expressing availability. HINENI can be used to indicate that someone is available to help or do something. Also, it can be a way of expressing humility. HINENI can be used as a prayer of humility and preparation. An example I took out of the New King James Version, from Genesis 22, 1 through 3. This is when Abraham was asked, if you know the story, he was asked to sacrifice his only son, kind of like a precursor to what was come, because everything in the Old Testament points to Jesus Christ. And it said, verse 22, now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham, and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am, HINENI. And I'll tell you something about that in a second. He said, here I am. Then he said, take now your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. And I in this day and time we say, that is so horrific to ask somebody to do that. But there's a reason for everything in Scripture. Verse 3, so Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took two of his young men with him. People worked for him, basically, his servants, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering and arose and went to the place God told him. He followed the instructions, because when God called him, he says, HINENI, here I am. Here I am. I'm ready to do what you say. I'm doing what you tell me. He had a spirit of HINENI, not just here I am. It says HINENI here. I got something here. It says HINENI conveys more than physical presence. It conveys a volitional, emotional, fully engaged presence. When God called to Abraham to journey to the promised land and later to take his son Isaac to Mount Moriah, Abram didn't answer with P-O-H, but with HINENI. Po can mean two things, the P-O-H in Hebrew. It can mean, in Hebrew, it can mean, I'm here. Not, not, it's not as rich or spiritually or in depth as HINENI. HINENI means, here I am. I am ready. I'm ready to follow instructions. I'm ready for what you have for me to do. P-O-H means I'm here, just nonchalant. I'm here kind of physically. But it also, I found this fascinating, it can also be used, the word po, in many different languages. It's the same. It can be used, a word for contempt, to express contempt, or kind of like we say poof, poo is poo or po, or it can mean also I am here. Well, when the various people in the Bible that used the Hebrew word HINENI, they meant not only am I here physically, but I'm here emotionally. I'm connected with you spiritually. I'm ready to do that which you would have me to do. Now, how's that translated into what we're talking about? If we're in a struggle with addiction of any kind, any compulsive behavior that is harming us, or we know we keep doing things that we know are wrong. We don't want to, but we just keep on. Are we going to answer the call with HINENI? I call upon you now in the name of God to come out of whatever captivity that you're being held in, the bondage you're being held in, of addiction of any kind, of being trapped in some kind of controlling religion or just being trapped in your wrong thinking, or being trapped in being narrow-minded and being contemptuous, as the turn of the century person named Herbert Spencer, philosopher or doctor, whatever he was, he paraphrased, and I used it before. When you have some new ideas, like the things you may hear on this GAN network from various teachers and preachers, and you just, oh, that's so different from what I've heard before. I don't know if I believe that. Or even worse, you say, "Po," you find contempt. And as Herbert Spencer says, one thing that, and I'm paraphrasing, it's not exactly this. He says, one thing that'll keep man in everlasting ignorance, without a doubt, is contempt prior to investigation. So if you feel a calling on your life to come out of the addiction, to come out of the misbehaviors that you're trapped in, answer the call. Answer the call with HINENI. I am ready, my Lord. Not just, I'm here, okay, I'm here, what you want me to do? Because there's more to it than that. You can't just say, I'm here. Some people, like I heard a friend of mine giving a message just today, actually. He was talking about how we live a life sometimes trapped in shame. And all through scriptures, it teaches us that Jesus Christ brought us out of that shame. The shame started with Adam and Eve, and we've been hiding behind those fig leaves ever since. But the shame, we just answer the call and keep moving forward. God leads us out of the shame. But are we ready? Am I ready? Are you ready to answer the call? We say we got to do stuff. It's just like some people will come to, if you're an ordained pastor, or if some people come to you from your congregation, or just people know that I'd like for you to pray for me. And that's not wrong, of course not. But sometimes the idea is what I was saying. This guy, his message made a point. Sometimes people go to a pastor or someone like that, and they say they want you to pray for them because they don't think that they're good enough to pray for themselves. Have you ever thought about that? We think that we have to have, quote, a holy man or a holy woman do our praying for us. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it's not wrong to be prayed for. Of course, it's not wrong to request prayer, but look at the motive behind it. Do not be afraid to speak to God yourself. You have a direct line. It's a shirt some of you may have seen me wear. The world's what's the world's best, or the world's greatest wireless connection is prayer. We don't have to have an AT&T. We don't have to have Verizon. We don't have to have all the high tech uh, phones and all that. All we have to do is think about it. Think of God in my presence, because God is in our presence all the time. And are we ready? Are we ready to follow his lead? Now, as I was getting to, a lot of times we'll realize we're ready, or we'll think we think we're ready, and then we want things to just start happening. But I need, when I am ready, my Lord, truly ready, when I am engaged mentally, physically, and spiritually, that means I'm willing to do what it takes to have a better life. He wants us to be happy here and now in this life. We don't have to wait till we die to find happiness. Some of us are taught that in our life, that we have to be miserable in this life, and then we'll die if we're saved and go to heaven, and we'll be happy and forever. He wants us to be happy now. Are you ready to be happy now? HINENI. Are you ready? Are you ready to be happy? And you say, well, how can I be happy? You're talking gibberish. You can be happy by realizing that the God, Father, Son, Spirit, the God that created all things, that has existed from eternity and exists until eternity, resides in and around you and I, and we have direct access to this power, the power that parted the Red Sea, the power that healed the lame and the blind, the power that raised the dead resides in us. We have access to this power. Now, we don't need to get all caught up in all this stuff. Well, if I pray for something and don't get it, there's something wrong with me. Everything should be prayed for as it's God's will. And it is God's will for us to be happy. He wants us to be happy. He wants us to be well. He wants us to be engaged in what's going on. And when you hear yourself, when you find yourself in a situation where people are saying, are you ready? Don't just say, I'm here. I'm here. I know people that go to I meet them in different settings, and I have over the years in counseling settings and different type of recovery group settings. They kind of say, well, I'm here. I've been that way before. I've attended things in the past when I was resistant to some of these things that I was being exposed to many years ago. And I say, well, I'm here. I'm just going to do the bare minimum to get myself through. That's not HINENI. That's not saying, I'm ready, my Lord. You know, I remember going to some things that I went to that I didn't want to go to, but I was just going to be in compliance to keep the folks off my back or whatever was going on at the time. I've engaged in clients who've had court orders to come see me, and they did that's the only reason they did it. That's okay. Everybody's forced to get help in some kind of way. People say, well, I don't want to deal with them people that's court ordered. Well, don't get too arrogant because everybody that seeks help with different problems, addictions, and compulsions, you're forced to get help. If not by the courts, if not by your wife or husband or your family or your employer, or you're just your plain old suffering and misery. The one thing that people that in the different recovery groups have in common, and that's suffering of different kinds. So don't be too arrogant about that. We're all forced to get help. But when we get there, when we start looking at ourselves, when we start examining ourselves and say, do I really want to overcome this problem, this addiction, this compulsion? Don't just say, well, I'm here. I'll do whatever, just the minimum I have to do, and maybe I'll get it. Look at yourself and say, HINENI, I'm ready, my Lord. I'm ready for you to take me on this journey. I came to that point in my life many years ago. I mean, I got myself in all kinds of situations and trouble and shameful things. And I finally, I went through the motions to get better. And then finally, it dawned on me that my answer was right here. He was right here. Jesus Christ, God the Father, Holy Spirit were right here. And I don't remember no booming voice or any booming voice, but something said, are you ready? Kind of like, are you ready to quit screwing around? Are you ready to quit playing with this? And I didn't say it literally, but something in me came out as, I'm ready. I'm not just here. I'm ready, my Lord. Help me, show me what to do. Guide me. It conveys the real HINENI spirit, conveys a volitional of your own volition. It's just you, it comes to you. You come to your senses, and it's an emotional experience, and you're fully engaged with it, and you're seeking to learn and grow every way you turn, every direction you look. You're seeing things that you learn. I was talking recently about we feel like we're being punished. We're in something. How are we disciplined by God? We're disciplined by God through Him allowing us to reap the consequences or to experience the consequences of our poor choices. And we have consequences that are not pleasant from that. That's how we're disciplined. It's not to be mean to us. It lets us learn and grow. They're really, when we make poor choices and we learn from that, making that choice, and we stop making that same choice over and over, what has it turned? It's not punishment. It is a learning experience. And then we move on and we keep growing and learning. At one of the treatment centers that I helped develop some years ago, and I brought it with me from another place. But when people get written up for minor infractions and different things, and they have to do, little quote extra duty or write some reports on topics, it's not called a disciplinary, it's not called punishment, it's called a learning experience. You will be given a learning experience for making a poor choice or violating a rule that is in place in this place. You see my point? And if you're one of those people that's in one of those places, because some folks at the different treatment centers, some watch some of these things, I know, and they's like, are you ready? Are you ready to be fully engaged in your own life improvement? Are you really engaged in learning about who you really are? Are you tired of making the same poor choices and then getting frustrated when you have the consequences and they get worse every time, it appears? Look yourself in the mirror and say, HINENI. I mean, I know it sounds corny, but sometimes little things like this will help motivate you. Are you ready? Look at yourself out loud. I don't care, or in private. Say, HINENI, I am ready, my Lord. I am ready to go on this life and go forward in this life and to learn and grow and become the man or woman that I am meant to be, that I was created to be. We were created whole and complete. We wander off and do all kind of things that get and our life gets all messed up. And next thing you know, we continue to do things. When we start doing things to take the place of the presence of God, we feel that we get further and further away from God, and we do things to make us feel like we're full and that we're complete, whether it's drugs, alcohol, relationships, criminal behavior, all kind of stuff, or any that kind of stuff that's uh, lacks integrity. Integrity. Do the right thing. Do the right thing because you know it's the right thing. And look around and say once again, I'm ready, my Lord. This is Life More Abundant, and we feel like we're all recovering from something. And we're sponsored by Grace Ministry at Rafa. We're also known as Trinitarian Grace International. And we believe that God is not mad at you. All are included. And the gospel, and what is the gospel? Jesus. The gospel is for all kinds of people in all kinds of places. If you would like to know more about our program, on the lead-ins and the closing screens, you can see our email and our website. The website is still being worked on. It's a new one, but you can contact us through that email that's on there, and we can help you if you have a substance abuse problem. We can help you get assessed and possibly help you get into a some kind of treatment or rehab facility. We'd be glad to try to help you do that. If you'd like to tune in to our weekly service on a weekend on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m., we meet in a little chapel here in Tyler, Alabama. But you can come through Zoom if you would like. Just contact me at that email at chaplain65 at outlook.com, and we'd be glad to send you a Zoom link. We don't high pressure. You can listen in. I'm not, we have various speakers from all over the country and all over the world for that matter. We have people that participate with us from Minnesota, Florida, New Jersey, Texas, uh, New Mexico, Nigeria, Kenya, Cameroon, and we even have people listening from Canada and England and all over that just listen in, that they like what they're hearing. So, are you ready? Are you ready? Repeat after me. HINENI, HINENI. I'm ready, my Lord. So let's move forward with this life. Let's know that the same, the same uh, feeling of wanting to be fully engaged that Abraham had, that Moses had, that they stepped up and answered the call. Are you going to step up and answer the call so that you can find out who you really, really are? Who you really are? Not who man keeps telling you you're an addict, you're a criminal, you're this, you're that. What are you? You are a beloved son or daughter of God. You are a beloved child of God. You are completely whole and complete. The only thing missing is our awareness of this truth. So, Lord, please help every one of us on this call today, on this show, this Life More Abundant on the Roku TV network, on GAN, Grace Awakening Network. Check it out. Check it out. Listen in. God bless you all till we meet again.